All right, moving on to the pantry. So show you kind of what our pantry looks like, some of the good things to have, staples to kind of transition out of and to start replacing. So starting with our top shelf is we have your good pasta sauce, marinara sauce. That one's a homemade one, but just making sure you buy it that's olive oil, no sugar, and just good ingredients in there. We have a gluten-free pasta. So this is just 100% brown rice. I like the Jovial brand. That's a good brand for the, so it's spaghetti. So I'll either do spaghetti squash or gluten-free spaghetti, and you really can't even tell the difference. So this is just an easy transition just to switch to the gluten-free pastas. I also love the wraps. These are coconut wraps. So their only ingredients in them are coconut and water and sea salt. And you wrap it up, so just like I showed in the refrigerator, like you could put the kale salad, the chicken, and then that's a quick, easy meal to have. So they're a good replacement to tortilla shells. And if you get tired of just salads, you can put things in there and wrap them up pretty easy. Next shelf is gonna be like sweeteners. So stevia is always something that we have on hand. It's the good quality organic stevia. And or the liquid stevia would be also a good thing. And then the other sweetener that I would tend to use would be honey. So raw honey. So those would be the things that if I'm baking, those are the things I'm using instead of white sugar. So that's like, we don't have white sugar in our cupboards anymore. We have stevia and we have honey. And then the other sweetener that's okay to use, I don't use it too much, would be the coconut sugar. So that would be the other thing to be using instead of the white sugar. Other things in my baking area are cocoa powder. So I always just have a big thing of raw cocoa powder. That's good for, like I said, the chocolate pudding, making any type of baking. I always tend to use the cocoa powder quite a bit. And then in this shelf too is also gum. So gum is notorious for being loaded with MSG, artificial sweeteners. So the spry gum is something that I always have on hand. It's sweetened with xylitol, and then it actually has like cinnamon essential oil, so it doesn't have like the artificial colorings and flavorings in there.
It's chew.
And yeah, my son calls it chew, so he asked for the chew. And but he still swallows it, so he only gets one piece. And then next shelf is the snack aisle. So in here are your Mary's Gone crackers. These are gluten-free, they're seeds, and then they also have brown, brown rice. So they're not advanced plan, but they are a good cracker alternative. So they are a great thing to dip in like your salsa, dip in your hummus, some cheese and the good raw organic cheese. That's a nice snack to have on hand. Even better than the Mary's Gone is gonna be what we call the flackers. So this is just flax seeds made into a cracker. So loaded with omega-3s, no grains at all. So this is advanced plan approved. And I love the flackers. They're nice, they're crunchy. They're just a nice snack to have on hand. The other snack that we have in here are sprouted almonds, sprouted nuts. So this is a brand that we get. It's called Brothers Nuts. But any type of sprouted nut or seed, these are sprouted pumpkin seeds. Nice things to have on hand. They're crunchy, just easy snacks. Kids also love these too. And then kale chips are another good snack to have on hand in your pantry. So the kale, and they dry it down, and it makes like a kale chip. So you can make these yourself, but this Brad's brand is a pretty decent brand too. And like the kale chips with a handful of raw almonds or cashews, nice easy snack, or even that could be a lunch, for some people too. And then for kids, I always like to have the raisins, just like the organic raisins on hand, just nice to throw in, nice snacks to have instead of like fish crackers. We just give our son like the raisins, and he's just as happy. Next shelf is your kind of your nuts. So I always buy in bulk. We buy our nuts on a website called nuts.com, and we buy a big huge 5-pound bag, and then we keep them in the freezer out in the garage, and then we just restock our containers. So you can buy it in bulk. It's cheaper, but they're organic raw cashews. Same thing with we have like walnuts, pecans, and almonds. They're all in their containers. I have a container of the pumpkin seeds, a container of sunflower seeds, and then I'm trying to think what this is here. Oh, sesame seeds and flax seeds. So we just buy them in bulk and keep them in these containers, and that way you always have those on hand for baking and for snacks. Next shelf here, we got quinoa. So that's a good alternative, high protein, tends to be better on your gut than even rice. So quinoa is a good thing to have. And then we have also wild rice. So wild rice is about your best form of rice, even more so than brown rice. So that would be a good rice for you. The chia seeds, those are good to sprinkle in smoothies. You can also bake with them. You can make the pudding. In your book, there's the chia seed pudding recipe. Chia seeds set up like almost like a tapioca. So it makes a real thick pudding when you soak them. So that chia seed pudding recipe is also a really good recipe to have on hand. And then we have garbanzo bean flour. In the recipe books, the guides I gave you, there's a pancake recipe with almond flour and garbanzo bean. All it is just ground up chickpeas. So, but it's a flour made out of that. So that's a better alternative than white flour is the garbanzo bean flour. On the bottom are also, this is my big container of coconut flour, and then my big container of almond flour. We also buy that on that same website. We buy a big thing of it, keep it in the freezer, and then just put it in these containers. Almond flour, coconut flour, that's what I tend to do all my baking with, muffins, pancakes, cookies. But this is also good breading, so there's a recipe in that packet of chicken fingers, and you bread up the chicken fingers in the coconut flour, the almond flour, and they're amazing. They're just like a chicken nugget, and kids absolutely love those, so those are a nice thing to have, for you and for your children too. Okay, last shelf in here is gonna be like the canned shelf, so the canned black beans, I always buy the Eden Organic because if you read that, it says the BPA-free lining. So most cans have BPA, which has been linked to a lot of health issues and cancer. So they have the BPA-free lining, and then they also sweeten it. They don't sweeten it, but they use like good quality ingredients. They don't have any added chemicals or preservatives in there. So always have black beans on hand. Always have the garbanzo beans on hand to make the hummus. And then, kidney beans for making things like chili. We always have those on hand. And then coconut milk. We always buy coconut milk online. We buy a big case of it, and then we tend to just keep it in there and then just pull it out as we need it. This is not the brand I normally get, but our brand we normally get is called Native Forest Simple, and it has no guar gum, no preservatives. It's just coconut milk. But you can buy this we just bought this at Kroger. Coconut milk unsweetened is the main thing, and that's what we use. We don't buy the big cartons, we just buy the cans. And almond butter is also another great thing to have in your pantry. Almond butter or cashew butter. So like tonight, I gave my son a snack of celery and almond butter. Almond butter is good to put in your smoothies. It's good to have a Granny Smith apple and dip almond butter in it as a nice snack. So almond butter is always a staple in our pantry. And then there is artichokes in here and the chicken salad recipe. Like I had that chicken kind of cut up and cooked up. Add the artichokes, add some of the good veganese, and then you make a healthy chicken salad. Super easy. And then obviously things like onions down at the bottom with that too. But so that's pretty much a stock pantry. What you see that's not in there is going to be your box foods, your packaged, crackers and all the junk that you typically see at the supermarket. But yet you learn how to make it and you learn the healthier alternatives and you don't even miss that stuff.